Okay, we have got our pages done, we've got our album cover, we've got our hinge, expandable binding and hinge system. Now we want to add our closure to the front and back to close the album up before we do the interactive elements on the front and back covers. So decide what it is you want for your design paper on the front and back cover. I'm going with this clock down the rabbit hole kind of motif. So I'm going to do this on the back and the front. I've already got some score tape on there. So I'm just going to remove the score tape and add this on. And then my plan is to put one of these little, I think they're from Frank Garcia. They're just a little kind of knob thing. So I'm going to attach that there and then have an elastic closure going around it. But we want to be able to hide both the tines from the brads from this and the elastic closure. We want to hide the bulk that it makes here. So we'll do that and then we can add our interactive elements. So I'm going to get my score tape backing off. Straight. And I know it's not right to the edge, but I'm going to be adding some a piece of vinyl over top of this to about here. So you can add some fabric, you can add another piece of patterned paper, whatever you like, but I like to overlap it a little bit, so it's going to come to about here, and then I'll embellish after that. So I'll add my back piece, and then we will add our closure. Okay, so that's going that way, this way. So I'm using the same paper for both the back and the front. Alright, so figure out where it is you want your closure to be, whether it be, you can use like a knob like this if you like one of these kind of Tim Holtz knobs. You could use something smaller. You can really use whatever, as long as an elastic band will go over it, then you're good to go. So I'm just going to get my pen and make sure this is in the center. Looks pretty good to me. And mark a hole there. And mark a hole there. And then punch your holes. And then get your brads. Alright, so there is our our front bit. And now we will do the back. So the back, we need to punch a bigger hole. Right about there. You probably should mark the exact center. And then you need an eyelet. So put the eyelet in there and use your crocodile once again. So if you're using a crocodile, it should be, your little things that move here should be on, what is it, C and 2, I believe it is. So there's a little pokey one on that side, and then a round, it's hard to see, a round one on this side. Alright, so we've got our our eyelet in there, and now we take the elastic and with it bended, thread the elastic through, which might take a little bit of coaxing. There we go. Okay, so once your elastic is through, get a paper clip and you are going to use the paper clip and kind of thread the elastic onto the paper clip. Okay, so I've got the elastic. Here's the loop of the elastic, and you've got the paper clip attached to it. Alright, and now you just want to pull this taut, and then I'm going to put a little bit of duct tape over top of this just to make sure that it stays right where I want it. This isn't absolutely necessary. You could put a little piece of pattern or cardstock over it as well. Just something to make sure that it stays where it's supposed to stay. And then we're going to have our pocket over this as well. So there will be a little bump in that pocket, but I find that's the best way to do it. Alright, so that is that. You can also put a little, might put a little tiny piece of duct tape over these tines as well, because we want to make sure that that never comes off. And you won't see this because it's going to have patterned paper over top of it. Alright, there we go. So that is your album. Your album closure. Now we can begin work on the inside, front, and back covers. So I'll just grab my pieces and we'll get our measurements. Okay, your inside front cover, so the interactive elements going right here. Your pieces will be as followed. Your A piece is 9 inches by 7 inches. Your B piece is 7 by 4 1/4, and you'll need 2 C pieces measuring 8.5 by 6 3. Okay, so start with your A piece, get your scoreboard. Your A piece you are going to score at half along the 9-inch side, and your B piece you are scoring at half along the 4 1/4 inch side, and your C pieces score at half along the 6 3/4 inch side, and then turn your piece 90 degrees and score again at 4 1/4. Okay, so we'll do the other C piece at half along the 6 3 side, turn it 90 degrees and 4 1/4 right down the center. Okay, set your scoreboard aside. And we will add some score tape. So add score tape to both A and B. And we're going to be doing something different with C, so leave the C pieces alone for a moment. Now miter the corners of your A and B. Alright, and fold and crease on your score lines. Okay, bring in your album cover. So your A piece, remove the score tape, and it is going to the far left of your inside cover. And your B piece is going to the far right. So make sure you don't go over your where it's going to fold. Make sure you've got a little bit of room there. Okay, now we're going to add a magnet closing these two. So put a little piece of score tape on your B flap. Add 2 magnets. Another little bit of score tape. And close up your flap. Okay, now your C pieces, we are going to cut out so your C pieces, we're going to cut out this section there and this section there. So if they're beside each other, the two far sections, okay? So cut those out. And add score tape to the little bit that's left, the 1/2 inch section that remains. And miter those corners. Get your biddies out of the way here. And fold on your score lines. Okay, and your C pieces will be adhering to the top, right to the edge. Well, you could put it in the center if you prefer, actually, but I've got it at the edge. So the edge of your A piece. Do I like it better in the center? No, we'll do the way I have it. Okay, so right to the top of your A piece. So this one will open up and out to the side, and then the other one down at the bottom. Make sure they're lined up. Like that. So there we go. So that one goes out to that side. Oh, they both go to the same side, actually. Yeah. Alright, and now we will add a little swing tab here once we have our patterned paper on. So let's grab our patterned paper and start putting that together. Okay, so for ease of filming, I've adhered my patterned paper to most of it. Really simple, you know, just as I've said a whole bunch of times, measuring, going a little smaller with your pattern paper. So the only thing is the swing tab, so I'm putting mine at the top here. I'm going to use this little key, so I just marked where I wanted to put it and pierced a hole. So open this part up and open this up, so just pierce a hole through this one piece. Alright, and I've already got my swing tab adhered or put in there. Alright, so there it is, and I'm just going to use a piece of paper to cover up those tines. I just didn't want you to have to sit through the next 10 minutes of me just putting pattern paper on. So there is our last piece of pattern paper covering up those tines. I'm just going to leave these two, this one and this one, blank, just to try and cut down a little bit on the bulk of it all. And then the swing tab goes over like that. Alright, so that's your front inside cover. And now we will work on the back cover. So the pieces that you will need for the back cover are your A piece is 9 1/8 by 6 3/4. Your two B pieces are 5 1/8 by 4 1/4, and your C piece is 8 inches by 3 1/2. Okay, so get your scoreboard. Get this out of the way. Score piece A at half along the 6 3/4 inch side. Oh, that score line didn't go very well. There we go, that's better. Okay. And B, or both your B's, will be scored at half along the 5 1/8 inch side. And your C piece will be scored at half along the 3 1/2 inch side. And then turn it 90 degrees. We're making a pocket. And then half and 7 1/2 on the 8 inch side. Okay, so that's the scoring that you need to do. Set your scoreboard aside. And we can add our score tape. Score tape to each of the 1/2 inch sections. And miter all of those corners. And remember with the pocket to leave that tiny little bit of space between the edge of the paper and the where the score lines meet. Okay, get all those little bits out of the way, and we will start putting things on. So your A piece, fold on the score line, and it is going to adhere to the top of the inside of your back cover. Okay, so right at the top, centered. And then your B pieces are going to adhere to the bottom on the left and the right hand side. So right here and right here. And then your pocket is going to go right here to cover up this bit of bulk where the elastic and paper clip are. So remove the score tape from the sides and then fold up your bottom piece. And adhere that down to the side. And now there is going to be that little bit of a bump. It's kind of hard to avoid. That's why we're making it into a pocket, so it won't be quite as obtrusive. Okay, so now we can add our pattern paper, and I'm going to have something right here glued down to this part with magnets here to hold the whole thing closed. I haven't quite decided exactly what yet, but I'm going to figure that out. So I'm going to grab my pattern paper and we're going to go from there. Okay, so I know I want this on the pocket, so let's put that one down first. And this is going to go in the pocket like that. So kind of slide it in a little bit. Try not to let it adhere before you get it in place. There we go. Excellent. I have this up here. Okay, so now for the front bit. I was kind of thinking about triple matting this piece because I felt like the red, just the red behind it was a bit too much, so I was going to do that, do like a triple matte. I think that'll work. Okay, let's put the red down first. And now attach this to the black. Let me just see first, is it going to be too much? I think I'm going to cut down on the bulk and just put it right down onto the red mat. Alright, now something to hold this all closed. Okay, so I figured out what I'm going to do. So I've got most of the pattern paper on. I've put a little one of those ribbon pull tabs right there, and now I've cut out some hearts. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to mat these, double mat these hearts, sandwich a magnet in between them, and put one set there and one set over here with a magnet underneath, and then that will be what holds it closed. Okay, so I'm going to do that. So I'll put a magnet on each of them. 2 magnets on that one. Oh, sorry, I'm out of frame. Okay, so I've got each of the black hearts with a little piece of score tape. I'm adding 2 magnets to each of them. Oh, no, I only need 1. Just 1 magnet for now. Okay, 1 magnet on each of them. And then I'm going to put some adhesive on the back of the red hearts. And sandwich them together. This heart looks a little bit wonky, so I'm just going to trim a little bit off of it. a little better. This one actually looks a little wonky too. Okay, good enough. And now I am going to put a magnet on, let it adhere to the one that's already sandwiched in between, and put a little bit of score tape on it. And now put it where you want it on the page and push it down. Do the same on the other side. Try and make them around even. There we go. Alright, so now we need to put adhesive just on the top portion of this. I'm going to use some wet adhesive just so I can get right to the corners or right to the edges. Okay. And now I will let that magnet find its partner. And there is going to be some glue seepage. Okay, and now we'll add the other heart here. So we'll just add a little bit of glue to the top section of your heart. Oh, is the camera on? Did it just come on? You have to be here? Zuri, Mommy needs to work. Okay, your hearts are on. Make sure there's no glue on the back. There's not. We're good. Now we can add our last two bits of paper here. Alright, now get some tags for in your pocket there. And we're on the home stretch, people. Now we can add our pages to our album. Alright, so I recommend, you can use score tape. I recommend using wet adhesive because it's really going to stay and you want these pages to be in there. So add your adhesive to both sides of your flange, hinge, whatever you call it. Make sure you have a wet nap ready. Well, maybe you won't need one, but I definitely always do. And now make sure you've got the right portion open. See, I've already got glue. Jeepers creepers. Haven't even put it down yet. So make sure you've got the right opening there, and you've got the page going the right way. And you literally just slip it over. And make sure it's centered. And the heat from your fingers, if you do this, the heat from your fingers will help the glue to dry and adhere, and make sure there's no extra. And I'm going to do it afterwards, but you can add pattern paper in the gussets beforehand if you prefer to do it that way, or you can add it afterwards. Either way will work. Or you don't have to add any at all if you don't want to. Totally your choice. Alright, let's go for the next page. Okay. I like to really make sure that it is adhered before putting the next one on, otherwise it can slip back up a little bit and you don't want that. So take your time with this, really make sure that it is well adhered. Alright, and once you're sure your pages are really attached and in there, you can add all the rest of your stuff, finish embellishing, add some paper to the gussets, add some tags to the pockets. Don't forget your big tags for in here, and finish the cover, and you have just made an Alice in Wonderland album. So congratulations. And that is that. Gorgeous. Alright, so we are going to, I'm going to finish up my album, put some stuff on the spine and everything, and we're good to go. So I will come back, you'll see the full walkthrough, and you'll get to see all the finished touches that I put on it. Alright, awesome. Thank you so much for your purchase of this tutorial. It was really fun to make it with you. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. Bye!